Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Vicious and welcome to the new year. It's 2013 and I'm going to be kicking off the new year with a whole bunch of new videos, including a lot of tutorial and educational videos. Today what I'm bringing is a Photoshop tutorial on an effect that I would call either fog or particle effects. What I have right here in front of me is a document that I've already created for a Photoshop competition where I used this technique that I'm going to show you. Basically, I wanted to create fog here, and I can show you the before and after of when I added the fog in, because I thought it brought something to this image. And that kind of gives you an idea of what we're going to create, but I will show you in a moment that you can do a lot more with it than just fog. So let's go ahead and open up this other file here, which is just like a blank supernova star on a black background. First, I'm going to show you how to create the very basic fog effect. What you want to do is go ahead and create a layer that you can fill with the fog. I'm waiting for this Steam overlay to go away so I can click on new layer. There we go. And you want to go to filter, render, and clouds, and it will fill that layer with a cloud. First, let me tell you that whenever you do this, look at your colors on your palette, because it will use the two colors that you have selected as the colors it will render. So if I have red and white and I go to filter, render, clouds, it's going to give me red and white clouds. I always render in black and white for this effect, no matter what color I actually want to have in the end. So if you hit D on your keyboard with Photoshop, that's a shortcut to give you black and white as the default colors. Now if I go to filter, render, and clouds, we get these nice black and white clouds. To make this into a fog, you need to be able to see through it a little bit. And the easiest way to do that is to go ahead and change your blending mode. Usually the two that I would use for this would be lighten or screen. Screen usually the one I go with more often. Now you can see that some of the background image will show through to us. To show more of that image through, you can go ahead and lower the opacity of this until you get to the desired effect. However, more often than just needing to change the opacity, you might want to selectively paint in where you want this effect to be on the image and not have the entire thing filled. That's easiest to do in a non-destructive way by using an image mask. If I go ahead and click down here and add a new layer mask, and make sure I've got that layer mask selected, painting with black with a nice brush, a nice big soft brush, I can selectively decide where to take away or add by painting with white this fog effect. And I'm using an opacity of 46 with the brush, so that's why it takes more than one pass to make it completely fade away. So that gives you a very basic fog effect. And again, we can use the opacity to make it more like fog. The next thing you might want to control is how dense this fog is. This is easy. I'm going to go ahead and delete the layer mask. Give us the full brightness here again. Go to, make sure you select your fog layer. Go to Image Adjustments. And go to your levels. And with the level slider, you can play around with this. I use the middle point usually. Going one way is going to make this much thicker, and going the other way is going to make it thinner. And you can do this until you get a desired effect. Something like right about here works good for this image. Now, based on what you're doing, you might not be going for fog, you might be going for particle effects, which is the other thing I told you about. For this image here, I don't really want this black and white. What I want is some color to this. And the reason I always go with black and white is because it's easy to add color to it. And then you can do this again through an adjustment. You can go to Image and Adjustments and go to Hue Saturation. Click on the Colorize, and now if you drag the hue slider around, you can cycle through all the different shades here until you find something that looks good for your image. And you can kind of make that brighter by adding some saturation as well. So you can get some really interesting effects. If the hue saturation isn't exactly what you want, and you need a more specific color, you can actually do this as well. Go ahead and create yourself a new layer and grab your eyedropper and find the color you want on your image. Like I want this light blue color. And now I'm going to go to the fill dialog, which is Shift and Backspace on PC. And I'm going to fill this new layer with that color. Hit OK. And now the color is covering that layer. And what I want to do is use a blending mode, like say color would work really well. And that's unfortunately over the entire image. What I want to do is apply it to only that fog layer. So I'm going to go to layer and create a clipping mask. And now this image right here only applies to the one directly below it, which is our fog layer. And because I used a layer style here, I can change this and get many different effects. So difference, overlay, soft light. You can play around with that and get a lot of different effects. And then you can still do all the other things you were doing before, like the layer mask or the opacity, and really customize this to fit whatever image you're working on. So that was probably one of the quickest tutorials that I ever showed you, but it actually contained a lot of very useful information. In a quick amount of time, I showed you some of the neater things in Photoshop, like how to use a layer mask, how to use the blending modes, your opacity slider, a whole bunch of really neat tips and tricks. And that's kind of the point of this new series of tutorials I'm going to be working on, is to show you very valuable information in an easy to understand kind of way. So if you found the video useful in any way, you can say thank you to me by giving it a thumbs up. That's going to help me, and it's going to help me show up on YouTube a little bit better. If you want to see more stuff like this, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. I would love to have new subscribers. I'm one of the people that will always answer questions I see. I read my questions every single day. And so if you have something good to say, I will appreciate it. And if you have a question, I will try to answer it. So thank you guys for watching. This is Vicious. Stay tuned for a lot more tutorials. Hope you guys have a great new year, and I'll see you next time.